Welcome back to the channel, and today I will be flying this very large airplane to both moons. That's right guys, there's two moons in this game in case you didn't know. So this is a single stage to the moons. Okay, let's talk about what is important here. The first topic I will cover is this particular aircraft, so you guys can learn something useful, something fun for this game. Secondly, I will talk about what is an analog astronaut in real life, because I just found a job as an analog astronaut with the German Space Agency. So I'm not going to spoil much, but you can jump to the timestamps shown on screen if that's your thing. Thirdly, and I think most importantly, I will talk about my experience at helping to train an astronaut for flying to the ISS. Because tomorrow, Polish astronaut Slavoj Rusnacki with an American, an Indian and a Hungarian astronaut are going to fly on Falcon 9 to the ISS. So having said that, let's focus on today's mission. So, about this single stage to the moons, the first thing you want to notice is that there are 6 Rapier jet engines. These are designed for reaching very high speeds on the upper atmosphere. But when we fly too high, there's just simply not enough oxygen, and so they switch into closed cycle mode and they function as conventional rocket engines. Once we get up to the orbital heights that we want, I switch to the nuclear engines because they have less thrust but much higher efficiency, as they do not require oxidizer. This is something that maybe the most veteran players will already know, but it's always useful knowledge for everyone in the KSP community. As you can see, I am performing the lunar injection burn, and I'm eyeballing it without using the maneuver node. Because in this game, if you're on a low orbit in the equator and you just see the moon rising, that's the time you should accelerate and start burning until your orbit intersects at the moon. Of course, make sure you have the right inclination and everything else sorted, but once you figure that out, it's so simple. It's beautiful, honestly. Now we're approaching the moon, and I plotted out this deceleration burn. This is called a circularization burn, so we can slow down a little bit. It's not as long as the other accelerations we've done, and it allows us to put ourselves in a nice and circular orbit, possibly around the equator. One thing that is important to notice is that with the nuclear engines, we barely have enough thrust to hover on a medium to low gravity planet like the moon. So our approach will not be as vertical as you may be used to with conventional just rocket engines that have just more thrust, they have more punch. So the way we do this is in fact an approach from low altitude with a very shallow angle, so that our engines have longer time to completely decelerate all of the lateral velocity that we have, which is quite a lot. It's about 500 meters per second. Now, we have to also make sure that we don't crash into a mountain or a crater, so I will pitch up with the nose and create and control my vertical descent rate. This is really important because with the nuclear engines, you don't have a lot of room to play with, right? They're very anemic, as you could call them. So a couple of times, what I did, I would tap the action button, I just assigned key 1, to reactivate the chemical rockets of the Rapiers, right? Because that allowed me to add an instantaneous boost to both slow down horizontally and give myself a little kind of hop to regain some elevation, because you can't just look at your vertical speed, you also have to look at what the ground actually is. Because for example, we are on an uphill slope, which is not ideal when you have nuclear engines that barely push you back. But this is working out quite nicely. We're approaching a much lower speed, so we get the landing gear out, and we'll try with a very unorthodox approach, which is a bit of a mix between a plane and a normal moon lander. We hover for a second and then we drop down. Great success. This was actually less difficult than it felt. Unfortunately, I forgot to record the part where I got the astronauts out, but I played a little bit with TFX with this darker profile. I thought it looked really cool. And also their suits, as you may have noticed, they're kind of custom. They're inspired by NASA and Soviet Union suits. I think even ESA and JAXA. But it's really down to a mod, which is Kerbalized suits, I believe. If I'm wrong, I'm going to put that in the description of this video. and I'll put a comment with all the mod lists, because I have more than 100 and you guys always ask me, what is this mod, what does this do? And I always, I can't always go and look at my mod list every time. So there's that. But now let's talk about what it's like to be an analog astronaut. So what is an analog astronaut exactly? Well, it's when you work to pretend, essentially, to be an astronaut for a particular research study. And in my case, I applied to a study that focuses on the psychology of a crew of 6 people in a confined spacecraft for about a week. So of course, there has been a selection process, and there will be a week of training before this simulated mission, where we will have to learn a few team skills, medical skills, all of that. And then there will be, of course, a week spent in real isolation, just us 6, and it will be a very intense experience. You can really think of it a bit like a submarine crew, right? Where you have no contact with the outside world. We will not have any internet devices, so we have to pick carefully also what we want to bring for leisure, and we have a maximum payload each of 1.5 kilos that we can carry, and mostly will be maybe books and MP3 and things like that. Maybe comment down below, what would you bring? Because this is always a very interesting discussion to have. And our days in isolation will be planned out already beforehand. We will spend 8 hours a day of work, such as experiments and other activities. We don't really know what activities, to be honest. They are keeping us in the dark with this. So I'm also excited to figure this out. It will be a bit of a surprise, of course. Then we'll get every day 8 hours of sleep. So that's quite nice. Naturally, you need that. And then 8 hours dedicated to the cleaning, to the cooking, the maintenance, the leisure, socializing. We don't really know how this will work out. But I will bring with me a GoPro, because I want to record like a video journal of some of the best things that will happen. And the researchers said that this is a really good idea, because it will also help them to figure out better what works and what doesn't in the planning of a simulated mission like this. Also, my desire is to bring a video to you guys to make something cool, because this is something that doesn't happen every day, and it's still about space, it's still about astronauts, and I think most of you guys would find this pretty interesting. Now, I cannot guarantee that I can publish anything because of privacy, and there's a lot of paperwork to be fixed first. But I want to be optimistic and say that I'll try my best to bring some cool, very original content in the next months. Now, let's focus back on our mission. We just landed on MOONS. MOONS is a much smaller moon than the previous one, so gravity is weaker. And besides for a casual accident where I slip on the ice, because my driving skills aren't the best, this moon with a lower gravity makes it a lot easier to land with nuclear engines, because they have less gravity to fight against. Now, I decided here that I wanted to climb this very small hill, because I just wanted to get a nice vantage point. But unfortunately, again, my driving skills left to be desired, and so I scratched these engine nacelles. I think it wasn't a good idea to make them so close to the ground. And then also I decided to go and see this field of rocks. Why are they so green? I thought. But then when I went on them, I destroyed the landing gear. So this was a fatal mistake, because I always do something wrong in these videos, I swear, guys. This landing gear was our doom. We would have never managed to come back home. So what I did first, I sent all the astronauts outside. I decided to do a nice group picture and maybe plant a flag. There you go. Beautiful view. But also, after I placed them all together in this nice setup, because I really like the suit designs, look at that, I decided to send this astronaut in the blue suit, which is an engineer. he can fix broken parts in the game. So in case you didn't know, in Kerbal Space Program, this is without mods, it's just start game, you can fix a broken spacecraft. But you need an engineer with level 5, so that's like maxed out, which in my case it is, and they will have the tools to really fix a broken landing gear. Now I'm just trying to pose for a nice setup. But here is the operation. Here is the salvaging of the Moon SSTO. You see this drill-looking gun? That's inspired by the real one they use on the ISS. I have seen them used in Astronaut Training, for example. They are really large and they look like a laser gun from up close. But they're not. They're more like drilling power tool. They don't really shoot a laser like this game does. But look at that, we fixed the landing gear. It's backwards, it's off center, and it's the wrong height. But I think this will get us back home. So there we go, trying to get unstuck, leaving a piece of wing behind. We don't need that. Lighter makes us go faster. Yeah, you can tell the landing gear on the right is not the same length as the other one, but we don't need too much. There we go, just a little bump, and I figure this is a very good strategy for taking off, just hitting a rock. I think it's pulling a Cobra, thinks it's a super maneuverable Russian jet, but finally we leave Minmus. And now it's time to talk about, I think, the most important topic of this video, and that is my experience at helping to prepare an astronaut for his mission to the ISS. So I'm going to talk about Slavoj Rusnarski. He is a Polish astronaut of the European Space Agency, and I had the privilege to work alongside the astronaut instructors in the astronaut center they have in Germany, and there were so many exciting things that happened. First of all, I was there to do photography and filming, so I helped to document the lessons that they went through, because it wasn't just him, there was also other astronauts doing their training, but in particular with him, I was tasked to photograph the lessons where he was practicing maintenance on the ISS, and yeah, because he's going to stay 2 weeks up there, and he's flying tomorrow if they don't cancel or postpone it, and he will be flying on the Falcon 9 rocket from Cape Canaveral in Florida in America. And in his crew there is also an Indian astronaut, a Hungarian astronaut, and an American one. I think I met the Indian and the Hungarian. They once showed up and they were really friendly. I'm not sure I've met the American one, but it looks like they are an amazing crew. And other things that I had to do in the time of the training of the astronauts, I participated in a couple of fun lessons. The first one was called Human Performance Training, something like that. And we were put into groups with these astronauts training, and we had to pretend in this video game that we were managing a spacecraft, and there were problems with the resources, the power, there were lots of information to communicate from group to group, and so it really taught us so many useful skills of how to effectively handle lots of data with your team, right? And how to how to manage a space station that is failing. It's very interesting. Then I participated in another lesson as an assistant, not sure why they needed one, but it was exciting, and that was on verbal communication. So that was really, really well taught, because these guys have incredible teachers. And I was just there, like attending, and it was honestly hilarious, because at the end of the day, everyone is just just a person, and the things you experience, you just learn stories from these guys, and they're just hilarious. I can't really say anything, but because I'll get in trouble. But damn, interesting experiences for sure. And I really look forward to the live stream of the flight that should be coming soon. I hope I'm not jinxing it. And yes, they are going to stay 2 weeks up on the ISS. the crew of Axiom 4. So that will be a short duration mission, and in the meantime I will be busy with my analog astronaut experience. So we should be finishing about the same time, in roughly 2 weeks. So hopefully that will be an amazing chapter for everyone going through their different experiences. Now back into the game, as you can see, I have done some mistakes at choosing where to land back on the planet. And unfortunately I'm in the wrong continent entirely, and I'm running out of gas. So you can tell that I am sweating. I was trying to pick a flat surface because I wasn't sure at this point if the trees had actual colliders, because I just had installed the mod Parallax Continued and I wasn't ready for the rocks having colliders, so I figured the trees maybe had it. So I was kind of conscious of where I was aiming. Also, the ground isn't really flat anywhere on this planet, so you have to really watch out. I had the landing gear, the main one on the right, which was off axis, wrong height, backwards. So I was trying with my engines to really hover, to really slow down, right? To do like a flare maneuver and get a very low landing speed, lowest as possible, because I genuinely thought this was going to be it. So I tried to stay in the air until the last very second. Yep. And it was working pretty well. But the touchdown, it was surprisingly smooth. And it slowed down very nicely. It didn't even spin out of control too bad. And so I thought, wow, maybe this wasn't as bad as I was expecting. So yeah, overall, this was an exciting mission. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, I will see you in the next adventure.